get on because we had the same problem as the last meeting, and I'll give you the background on that. So,
Oh, it worked. Okay, great.
hey, Jess.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Jess.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
No. What do I do with my packet?
Another minute or two. Mary LaPresti just contacted me. Hey, Jess, was there anybody who said that they weren't going to be here?
No, I didn't get any messages from anyone.
Okay. All right, we'll figure it out. A roll call then.
Just Steve. I don't know if
Possibly
everyone.
Steve. He didn't confirm, but it was possible he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just looking at the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ken's on 7. I think we're okay. Jess, are we recording? We can start and get everything kicked off, or?
Yep, we're recording.
All right, wonderful. All right, good evening, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. This is an online virtual meeting. That's our call to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag
of
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you, everybody. Before we do the roll call, I just want to give you a heads up. Over the last couple of weeks, we had some problems with everybody trying to get into the meetings. What happened is we're sharing login in this crazy times that we're in, but we're sharing our logins with a few other areas. With the budget going on, the Board of Finance was wrapping up special budget meetings on Tuesdays, and that's why we were butting heads a little bit. But we had talked to them today. Today was their last meeting. They said they would be done by 7:30, and they were done at 7:30. So we had access, but that should be the last case where we had have any conflicts. But I did put on the back burner that if we're going to continue with some sort of virtual setting, even when we start getting back in person, we probably need to get our own type of license and ID, so we're not going to be in conflict with others. So just something on the back burner that I'll be thinking about. But just want to give you a heads up what happened last time and tonight. So let's start with the roll call. I'm going to start on the side of the room where Mary LaPresti typically sits. So Mary, are you here to kick it off?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
Okay, Mary LaPresti.
I don't hear Josh. Pete?
You're on mute, Pete.
All right, we can see him smiling. So, all right, so Pete's here.
John Kerwin.
On Kerwin, we got Dave Sauter.
Pat Coachella.
Dan Wall.
Brett Olbreeze.
Jessica Pinnell.
There you
Kevin
go.
McSherry.
Josh, I didn't hear from. Is Josh on the call?
No.
No? Okay. Jesse?
Mm-mm.
All right.
Could you hear me now, Dave?
Yeah, we got you now, Pete.
Thank you.
We took your smiling lips moving for acceptance.
All right, thank you.
And I didn't hear Steve McCary, who was he was ill today, so I didn't know if he was going to be able to make it tonight, but I didn't hear, so we're going to say that Steve's not here. Since Jesse is not here, Mary, I'm going to seat you for Jesse. So
Okay.
we'll do it that way.
Okay.
That's it. So we're good there. Wonderful. Okay, moving into the meeting itself. Public hearings, recess public hearings, none. New public hearings, none. Future public hearings, none. Regular meeting business, amendments to the agenda. Pat, Jess, I don't think we have any amendments to the agenda,
Not
correct?
that I am aware of, sir.
Wonderful. Okay. Audience of citizens. I see a few guests that are on the in the audience. Is there anybody in the audience of citizens that would like to discuss anything anything that's not currently listed on tonight's agenda? Again, to the audience of citizens, is there anybody present that would like to discuss something that is not listed on tonight's agenda? And finally, once more, to the audience of citizens, is there anybody out there who would like to talk about something that's not listed on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. Correspondence, again, I'm not sure, I don't think we have any, correct, Pat, Jess?
None that I know of.
Everybody's shaking their heads, all right. Old business matters on which a public hearing was held, none. And then old business, other matters, we have a few items to take up tonight. We're going to start with Z21-065. This is 66 Perkins Road for Edward McGarrah, 77 Perkins Road, from a letter that we had received that was dated back in March, on March 19th from Ed. Request for a driveway location revision. We had tabled this last time. I wanted to give you folks a quick heads up and an update in terms of what's happening here. We had talked about it at the last meeting that we wanted to do a pre-meeting with Mr. McGarrah and with Fred D'Amico to kind of gather a better picture in terms of what was happening with basically something that's been going on for 5 or 6 years now. And rather than kind of laying it out to the commission all in one shot and not knowing if everything was in there, we wanted to kind of get a better feel for that. John and Pat graciously lent their time to sit down with all of us and kind of go through it. And I'm going to kick it off actually to John and Pat to kind of provide a more detailed update in terms of what we found out and what we think next steps would be for the whole commission to kind of weigh in. So I'm not sure. John, did you want to start? Pat, did you want to start?
You go ahead, John.
All right. Couldn't find the button there for a second. Yeah, thanks, Dave. We did have the pre-meeting that was attended by both Dave, Pat, and myself, as well as Ed and Fred D'Amico. We got a chance to go over some of the background, how we got to this point, which I think we touched on the last time with respect to there was some confusion regarding access to this particular lot, and it looked like a subdivision had been possibly abandoned. But I guess basically what had happened, Ed had gotten a letter indicating that it was a buildable lot, although the deed itself indicated that it was not a buildable lot. When you look at the actual map, there is no access in feed to a public street. So we talked to Ed and his and Fred D'Amico, the engineer on the project, and he gave us a couple options that he was exploring. And I know we had a little bit of input, and I think the easiest way to resolve it, as opposed to having to get a variance, if we granted the easement that I think he originally requested. I know Pat and I were talking about just transferring a section in fee, and he had made that request also, that, the easiest way to get into the property. So with that alternative, which would save us the trouble of possibly denying the application, or at least referring it off to ZBA for another step for him to get a variance to get approval, we decided, or he decided he wanted to try to do an option if the town would grant him access in fee by a quitclaim of a small portion of property at the end of the cul-de-sac. I did have an opportunity to talk to George Temple, and he actually liked that idea of the quitclaim. Also, Attorney McSherry brought up a good point. With our quitclaim of the access area to Ed, we would then ask Ed to quitclaim any rights that he has that we're not sure if he does or not in the adjoining property that could be town property. It could be property that would derive back to the original owner. But this way it would clear up any issues with respect to that segment of property. And would prevent it from being developed further. Not that there would be much risk once Ed had gotten that, or once Mr. Majera got that quitclaim portion in fee. Pat, is that a pretty good summary?
That covers it, John.
And
and I
both,
think
and I
that,
think it's safe to say both you and I were in favor of that just the straight
Yes.
fee as opposed to the easement. It made it a lot easier and cleaner.
yes, the simple solution.
And George liked that as well. So I think the way we left it, Ed and Fred D'Amico were going to go out and do a survey and get the meets and bounds, the actual area that we could put into a deed for enough property that would get him access to the public street, so it would be a buildable lot. With that, we could then give it to Kevin Condon, who could draft up a quitclaim. A quitclaim deed is not a warranty deed or anything. It just says any interest that we may have in the property, we give to you. So, we don't have to worry about any warranty, any title searches or anything. It's the easiest way to transfer the property. And it gives Ed the ability then to access his property from a public street. And then he's in compliance with that 5.4.1 of the zoning regulation. So he has access in fee to a public street.
And if I just may add one thing, if anyone has looked at the maps, this is the only lot along that paper road that has this problem. There is no other lot with this problem. The other side of the road is part of the Rock House Hills Sanctuary. So, this is a one-off. It won't come back again.
Yeah, and the way we're doing it, it's resolved now and for, forever, hopefully.
I think it's an excellent solution, and the commissioners working on it did a great job putting it all together, and it eliminates the paper road issue when he quitclaims his interest. When there's a subdivision that's not where the road isn't accepted by the town, it becomes a paper road, which would allow Ed to have access all over, Mr. Magera have access all over that piece. So if he releases that, then he has what he needs, and it clears up the problem. So nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Kevin. So what we want to do from the commission's perspective, this pre-meeting happened in the middle of last week, and there was a lot of things, there wasn't a whole lot of time. So rather than try and rush it, what we opted to do, they have a couple of things that we're expecting from them. I'd like to see Ed and Fred come in front of the commission to explain exactly what's happening, so you have a chance to weigh in and ask questions, with all the documentation and everything. And we're going to try and do that for the first meeting in May, the next regularly scheduled meeting. So that's kind of where we are at the moment with this. I just wanted to kind of fill in the gaps for everybody.
Will the deeds and the Board of Selectmen review and everything be done by then?
I don't know if it's going to be done by then, because we haven't received it from the survey or anything like that to be able to send over to Kevin.
Yeah, I would suspect, just knowing how these things roll, I don't think it would be done. What we could entertain if the commission wanted to take this route that the three of us were proposing, we could make the motion contingent on that happening, and also in the motion make the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they do quitclaim, and that way we don't have to go back for a second, hearing.
That was my concern. So,
And I'd
yeah,
have to bring them in.
Yeah.
What does the rest of the commission think about what John was suggesting there?
Sounds like a good idea. Pizza Press.
Yeah, I agree, Dan Wall. I mean, it sounds pretty simplest way to do it.
Mary Lopresti, that sounds like a fine idea.
If I understood it, I'd say I'm in agreement with it.
Fred, I had to hear it
So-
about 6 times before I understood it, so I know where you're
So
coming from.
I'll trust your all's judgment.
John or Pat, did either of you want to make then that motion now to be able to collect that and the contingency built into it? You probably could say it a little bit better than I can.
go ahead, John.
Actually, Dave, we could probably do that on the 4th after he presents it.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
he still has to get it get it before us. So without him being here, we can start working on a draft if that's what the commission's inclined for to do. But I don't think we need to make the motion right now. We can do it later on the 4th. Is everyone?
No, that's fine. If we can kind of, again, I'm looking basically for how long it's been, whatever we can do to, I'm not saying expedite it for the sake of expediting, but more in terms of let's move this along because, it's been tied up for as long as it has. I'd like to, kind of like grease the wheels wherever we can with it. So, okay, that's fine then. Then I guess we would need a motion then to table this until the May 4th meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Pat and Pete, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Why?
Opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay, so we'll table this now until May 4th. Thank you again, Pat and John, for everything. I know there's been a lot of legwork over the last few weeks in terms of just trying to go through the docs, and also to Jess and to Steve, because they were spending a lot of time doing all the gathering of all those documents. So there was a lot of things that were happening. All right. Next up, we have Z21-064 248 Oxford Road, T&J Realty 3333 Main Street, Stratford, Connecticut. The applicant is Oxford Axe Throwing, 54 Dorman Road, Oxford, Connecticut, and this was for a change of use. Jess, did you get my note a little bit earlier? You're on mute also.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Got it.
Yes, I did get that note. And we're having technical difficulties and John's trying to fix it right now
As we
Okay.
speak.
as we speak.
As you speak, all right. And those technical difficulties basically was we had left at the meeting last time where we wanted to have a specific motion that was drafted up, pending any other questions that we had right now for for the applicant. I see Karen is here. Hi, Karen. And I didn't know if there was anybody else on your end that was here too. So while John's finishing up those technical difficulties, did anybody else on the commission have any questions for Attorney Fisher or for if the applicants are here as well too?
I'm good with it, Dave.
Nothing here. I'm good.
I'd like to see a bit more detailed drawing on the positioning of everything. The little sketch here kind of, I can't tell, are they throwing the axes across the bar or, it's kind of vague.
Well, no, it's two separate rooms, Pat. There is if you look at where it says proposed bar, there is a wall behind there. So the bartenders, we have the stools, the bartender stands behind. That is an actual wall that separates
Okay.
where the bar is.
My drawing is a little bit thin and it looks like it's a dotted line across there.
No, there's they have 4 TVs showing. They plan to mount 4 TVs on that wall for the patrons sitting at the bar to look at. And then you could see the space, maybe you see, I'm going to point out that there is a space when you look at the bathrooms to the right, there's a gap right there to reflect the doorway.
Okay.
Hey, Karen, Dave, do you mind if I ask a question?
Absolutely. No, this is what the time is for. Go for it.
So is there a door? You said there's a door, but is there a physical door between the two spaces? And are you having serving staff bring alcohol into the throwing area, or is there no alcohol allowed into the serving area and everything is inside the bar area?
There's not a physical, and patrons, because normally under the current approval that they have, patrons can bring at the axe throwing areas, but now what they would have to do is get their drink to way.
I can't hear her. She's breaking up. Can you
Yeah.
guys
Yeah,
hear her?
Karen,
Karen.
no. Karen, we could barely hear you. Maybe your video
Okay.
is causing issues.
I think she froze
I'm
up.
gonna shut the video.
Yeah, shut the video off. And
Yeah, try that. Mhm.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So normally under the old approval, the patrons were able to bring their coolers in and they can bring their coolers right up to the axe throwing area. With this, there's no longer coolers involved and people can go to the bar to get their drink and bring their drinks to the throwing area. But this way the bartender's able to monitor how many drinks and what drinks are happening instead of, not being able to monitor how many drinks each person is having.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question for you, Karen. On the top of
Yes.
your diagram here, you got a 50, what is that, a 50-foot space on the right-hand side of it, and on the left side, you got 25-foot space. Are those doorways or what are they?
No, I think what they're trying to show is the size of the room. The axe throwing room is 50 by 50, I believe, is what it's supposed to mean. And then the kind of area where the bar is 25 by 50. And then you have the entrance where people actually come in.
No, I'm concerned. It says the throwing room is 55-50, but the bathrooms are included in that 50-foot along with a storage room to your right. And what's in the center there? Is that a doorway or what is it?
That is the back exit, the fire exit.
Okay, so that won't be used coming in and out, would it?
Oh, no, that's just the back door fire exit.
Okay, because there's not a wall across there, right, to protect from where you're saying where they're throwing axes from? They're throwing them from the bottom of the page to the top of the page, right?
So there's a dividing wall. So where you see
Okay.
the axe throwing area with the dotted lines, that's a big wall that goes all the way up to the top. And so and there are, where you see the other lines, those are plywood half walls
Okay,
between the different throwing areas. So each kind of throwing area is its own confined little space.
okay. Got it. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
No
sorry
problem.
for the confusion, just these, apparently the drawing didn't copy well.
Right.
Yeah,
that-
and that's fine. And this is the time to be asking questions to make sure everybody's on the same page because there is a little bit of a revision there. And just for everybody on the commission's note, there is a message that was sent to you with the motion if we decide to move forward with this. So that way you have the motion to be able to see that as well. So I don't know if anybody wanted to take a look at that real quick as well. Just literally just sent it out about 5 minutes ago.
Just
a
curious
question.
about something.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Brett.
So does everybody bring their axes in or they're a rental where you can rent axes? Because the axes look like they're in the front of the facility, meaning like if I were to take out an axe, rent an axe, I could walk up to the bar with it and place it on the bar because I have to walk through the bar area. I would think the axes themselves would be confined to the throwing area unless you're
Well,
bringing it in.
So the people have to come and check in at the front area. Once you check in and the waivers are checked and the membership is checked, all of that information, they retrieve their axe and then they go to the axe throwing area. They're not going to have people sitting at the bar with the axes.
I would hope not.
Yeah, no, they're.
Just a
I mean,
question.
You had
Do we-
people walking in with coolers holding the axes.
Oh, I
So,
understand.
it's a little more, this is easier for them to be able to monitor and ensure the safety. They've not had any issues there. Everything has run very smoothly, but they would be more comfortable to be able to monitor things to make sure that there's nothing happening. And I guess our only concern is, and I understand from the last meeting, we understand that the approvals that were made at the prior meeting, the meeting back in the fall, I think it was, when we were going for the space that was next door with the outdoor space, we did have to go through everything with the special exception. And I just want to ensure that everything that we've done for the special exception will follow to this space. And I understand those other orders will be vacated. I just don't want to vacate the special exception approval.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things why we wanted to make sure that was factored into your motion if we decided to go that route. So I understand where you're coming from. Pat, you had a question, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that abandonment of that previous application was in our hands, the document.
Dave, if I could jump in on that,
Or go ahead, John.
I don't know if it was, we were abandoning the special exceptions because then the applicant would have to apply again because you need a special exception to sell liquor or to have liquor served. So we were, I think what we were doing, and Attorney McSherry can jump in on this, we were going to, with this change of use, have it amend specific conditions in the original two applications. Actually, that's what I was typing something up. I know Attorney McSherry had been working on it a little bit this morning too. So I think what has to happen.
Commissioner, I did draft up a motion, and the first one I did was much more lengthy than necessary because I hadn't sat through any of the hearings, so I couldn't identify specific conditions. But I've tried to refer to the statement of uses of both the earlier applications and carrying that forward with a list of conditions that were adopted by the commission. The chairman pointed out a couple things that should be changed, and I think we've kind of got all those conditions that are still there and will remain there appropriate in the motion if we determine that the commission determines they want to approve it.
Yeah, that's correct. I had an opportunity to look at it, and this was a too lengthy hearing. So I took your motion and added in. There were a couple of conditions that I don't think were sent to you from the 2020 application. Is that right, Jess? You're on mute.
I'm on mute. I'm trying to get Jesse in the meeting here. He really wants to get in. I sent the Z19, so the one in 19 and Z20-035A. Those are the two I got. The one for the Boar's Nest with the patio, where they wanted to open the bar and have them separate, the axe throwing in the bar. And then the very first one for the axe throwing period, where they were bringing the alcohol in themselves.
And this is where it gets confusing. So while I have this, maybe I could ask Attorney Fisher. So Attorney Fisher, in application Z19, that was the first special exception. That was the one where you got permission to just have a members only bar where people brought in their own alcohol.
Correct.
And then in Z20, that was the Z20-035A. In that one, you got the permission to sell alcohol as well, not prohibit people coming in with alcohol, and you also got the patio added on. Is that correct?
We, as part of that application, we had to do an amendment that provided that no one was allowed to bring any alcohol in anymore. So the approval that we had from the first application that allowed people to bring in alcohol would be removed. And then under this one, it was a permit to be able to have a bar and serve alcohol and have the patio area. And so now we're kind of moving that application to a different spot in the same complex, deleting the outside patio area.
Okay, so that and that was the confusion I had this afternoon when I was looking at that. And I think Attorney McSherry, you wouldn't have been able to pick up on this because it wasn't included in any of the Z20. I don't think that condition of sale of alcohol was ever included in the conditions. Because I
It was-
included
I
them and
don't
it
believe
just
so
had,
either.
We had, in my notes, I had that we had to comply with our statement of use and
oh
our.
yeah,
state-
no, I'm not saying that you didn't get the approval, but the actual motion itself, it just referred to the statement of use. So when you go back and look at it, it said nothing about, trying to decide or trying to run down the chronology of events. So that was some of the trouble I think that both Attorney McSherry and I and Dave had, or Chairman Sauter had when we were trying to go through this. So I just added in those conditions from Z20 that it did have you comply with the statement of use and the representations at the hearing, but it did not include in the actual conditions of compliance the requirement with respect to alcohol. So I kind of amplified on that in a draft motion, which I sent to Jessica. So I don't know if we can send that out to review or.
Hey, Dave, I had a question.
And actually, John, it was sent out to everybody a few minutes ago before we started discussing that. So everybody should have it in their inboxes right now. But it sounds like, and Brett, I hear you. It sounds like, John, what you're saying is that the way that you drafted this, you just kind of like buttoned up everything together neatly. So we know that all the bases are covered and we just want to make sure that everything's the way that it should be. Am I paraphrasing that the right way?
Yeah, and there's a reason why I did it this way because in Attorney Fisher, the last condition that I put in, under Connecticut General Statutes 8-3C, you're required to file these on the land records
Correct.
before. So that's a condition before the permit actually, before the special exception actually takes effect. It has to be filed on the land records, and that's a requirement of the legislature of state law. So that's why I wanted to spell it out with a little bit more detail. So when you look on the land records, it just, it's not all these documents that don't kind of interface well. So would you have any objection to entering these on the land records?
Do I? No, in fact, I was working with Ms. Pinnell to get Jess and I had many emails back and forth to get the correct documents to try and figure out if it was just going to be the letter of approval or if there was a different document that needed to be recorded. So I don't know that Jessica and I finalized that conversation, but we're prepared. Yeah, we're prepared to record whatever needs to be recorded on the land records. And I was aware of that statute.
Yeah, this might be a good time to just get the input of the commission, but I think the easiest way to do this, and everyone hopefully can chime in, if you file both special exceptions, because they both grant certain permissions with respect to the activities at this particular establishment. And then you also file the change of use per application as well, which references them. So that way, when you read through them, it'll show you what's permitted and what's not permitted by all the applications.
I agree with that statement. If you're asking me if that's what I plan to do, I plan to make sure the one that we have from the axe throwing, the one from the use with the patio that we're kind of abandoning. And then if this new one is approved by your commission, having all three right there spelled out for everybody.
I don't want to lose track of Brett. Brett's been waiting patiently, so.
I just had a general question, and maybe this is a little off topic, but and maybe if we talked about this, I apologize. But when you have an establishment that's going to sell alcohol, do you have to have a public hearing for that? Because I always seem to remember seeing signs around town, proposed public hearing for the sale of alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. Do we need to do that, or did we do that? I don't recall.
we did have that posted for the application that was approved by the commission in November. Yeah,
Okay,
I think.
okay.
But yes, you're correct in that there would be a public hearing, but we did have one.
Okay.
This is Mary Lopresti. Can I ask a question, please?
Absolutely, Mary.
Karen, just a quick question. This may be a silly question, I'm not sure. But if people are going to be drinking alcohol, how are you going to be monitoring them then throwing axes?
Well, as part of the original application, we had explained that there's regulations with regard to this. So they have to have a certain amount of employees versus the axe throwing. They're monitoring the axe throwing area at all time. And they can monitor it because the bartender, that's why we have the bartender service, because they can tell how many drinks they're serving to each person. So that's how we're able to monitor it. When people are coming in with the coolers, we don't know if they had a 6-pack of beer in the first 15 minutes. This way they know, just like in any bar, the bartenders have to monitor and confirm that they're not over serving guests, and they can monitor that service.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
I've got a question.
Go ahead. You recognize Pat.
Looking at this motion, under the section that says conditions for Z19-321, item number 7 says included in this approval is there's no alcohol should be sold on the premises without an additional approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
That was the original approval. And then the bottom section, whereas the Oxford, when we talk about the application before us, condition 1 says in condition 1A, it amends it.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why I spelled it out that way, because it's kind of confusing if we just filed them on the, those special exceptions on the land records without any document that kind of, outlines those.
Did that answer your question, Pat?
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Want to make sure. Any other questions from the commission or topics they want to bring up regarding this? Okay. Jess just alerted me that she sent another email to the commission with the cleaned up motion from John. So everybody has that. And at this point, John, what's that?
Oops. Yeah, I sent the wrong version. There was some language that needed to be cleaned. It's the same thing. It just has a couple of errors fixed. So basically the same one. There's just a couple of some language that kind of clarifies it, but it doesn't change the meaning at all.
Okay. So, all right. So at this point, I know we have this in here. I know we've kind of, we've talked, through this, for, quite a bit. What is the commission's feelings in terms of the motion that we have in place? Do we want to review it further before we do anything? Or did we want to go ahead and move forward with the motion based upon the conversations that we've had tonight? I would entertain a motion either way, depending upon the commission's feelings.
Dave, I would like to have time to review this stuff, because sending stuff in e-box last minute, pulling this stuff up, reading it, making snap decisions. I'd like at least some time to review it.
Does anybody else have any comments, discussion regarding it? This is our time to deliberate and talk about that.
I just have a question.
Okay.
Karen, what's the plan for the construction? Like, are they ready to get going on the construction? Are they waiting on us? What's the status of this if we were to approve it?
Everything is ready to go. They're waiting on you.
And they're open right now?
The the axe throwing is open right now, but you know,
Yeah.
and they have been open. But they're ready to go as far as they were putting together, building, getting lumber to build their furniture, build the bar, all of that. So they're ready to jump and start moving as soon as the commission, if the commission approves them.
And while it's under construction, will they remain open or will they close down? And in that interim period, would alcohol be consumed since, you know, there won't be an active bar, nor will there be an active permission for bringing alcohol into the facility?
Well, I think their plan would be to work on the construction during the hours that they're not open, because I mean, they're not open all day long. So they do have blocks that they would be able to work on it. And also they have to finalize, they have filed for the liquor license applicant or the alcohol license application, but they can't serve anything, one, until you approve it, and two, until they actually get the license to serve. So, and that license, I believe, I don't do the liquor applications or the alcohol applications. I think the state of Connecticut needs to see the bar in place and everything done before they actually approve it. So, maybe they would have to close a couple of nights. All these guys that own it are pretty handy. So they built everything themselves so far for the whole build out of the axe throwing. So I don't think we need much time, and no, they're not going to be quote doing construction while people are in their axe throwing. I think it's going to happen on their off hours.
Thank you.
All right, so to the commission, we basically at this point, we call for a motion either to work with the motion that was just sent, or Pete had suggested tabling, but there hasn't been a motion in either direction as of yet. So.
If we approve this today, does that mean that no liquor will be able to be brought in until the permits from the state allow the sale?
That's exactly what I was asking. Yeah, that's my question too.
Well, I think that's the pickle that they would be in. Yes. So they have to work as quickly as possible, because if you approve this, you're taking away the ability for them to allow people to bring alcohol in. And then without having an alcohol license from the state of Connecticut, they can't serve any alcohol in there. So Pat, I believe what you're saying is accurate, and they're going to have to work as quickly as possible. I think they have already filed for the alcohol, the permittee alcohol application. And I just don't think it's finalized yet, because it can't be final until they see the space.
Is there ever a chance that the state denies the license? And then what happens if that were to happen?
And you
That's
can't
it.
serve the alcohol.
Well, no, I
And-
get that, but
And there, it would be frozen in time, and they'd have to go back and satisfy whatever the state requirements are. And generally, they're very particular about how they approve things, and that would be part of the process they'd have to go through.
okay. I mean, my opinion is, in some ways I agree with Pete, but at the same time, I mean, I am satisfied with the motion that has been drawn up. So I would be amenable to moving forward with it tonight. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Dan Wall. I agree. We talked about this last meeting, and it was pretty clear to me, and we just needed this motion written up, and I think it's pretty clear. I'm ready to move forward.
So again, with everybody here, we would need somebody to make a motion in terms of either with the motion that we have or not. So is there a motion for which direction you folks would like to do in terms of action tonight?
I'll make the motion, I guess, for discussion purposes. to move forward with the motion that was drafted by John, do I need to read the entire thing?
You would have to read the entire thing, yes.
Okay. And look, before I do that, is it proper to approve the motion for discussion purposes or to approve it in general?
I think, unless somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've kind of gone through the discussion. I'd rather, before we
Okay.
make a motion, if there's gonna be more discussion, let's knock this out now and then, you know, make a decision. Either we're gonna make the motion or we're not gonna make the motion, because I don't wanna, kind of keep going back and forth.
I'll just make the motion to approve what John drafted, and I guess I'll read it in.
Okay.
So, yeah,
If I can just jump in there though, Brett,
sure.
just to give credit, it was Attorney McSherry who drafted most of it. I just added a couple of things in.
There you go.
So, and just procedural question, am I starting at the very top with ZO64?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have a date on this, but I'll make the motion to approve, or I'll make the motion to approve the motion as drafted by Attorney McSherry. Today's date being April 20th. Oxford Acts motion Z-21-06-064. Whereas Oxford Acts Throwing, the applicant, has filed a change of use application for the property located at 248 Oxford Road, Oxford, dated April 1st, 2021, requesting that the prior special exception Z-20-035A, which expanded in the area of the premises to include an outdoor patio, be amended to remove the outdoor patio from the footprint of the premises. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a special permit for the applicant, the property located at 248 Oxford Road, Oxford, on January 21st, 2020, Z-19-321. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a special exception for the applicant for the property located at 248 Oxford Road, Oxford, on June 20th, 2020, Z-20-035A. Whereas the prior approvals shall remain in full force and effect, except as modified with the change of use application dated April 1st, 2021, as filed by the applicant. The applicant has filed in support of change of use application. Completed application, statement of use with attachment, acknowledgement form, intake, layout, copy of lease agreement on file. Whereas the prior approvals conditions are set out herein and shall be in full force and effect with exception of the modifications requested by the applicant as described in the new statement of use filed in the change of use application Z-21-064. Conditions for Z-19-321. Compliance with all Town of Oxford regulations and ordinances in effect as of this date. The applicant will be required to pay all costs, how special consultants or studies as deemed necessary by the commission at any time during the period from initial review through inspection and final acceptance of any improvements. The applicant and their assigns must comply with all representations made at Planning and Zoning Commission meetings and/or at public hearings regarding this application, including testimony. There will be a maximum of 11 targets, 1 target per bay, with a maximum of 1 person throwing per bay at one given time. At all times, there shall be 1 instructor per 6 throwers. The specific uses on this property shall be limited to those designated with the statement of use dated 11/3/2019 and submitted as part of this application. The applicant and their assigns must comply with all applicable conditions required by the OCCIWA and emergency services, fire, police, and ambulance. And this approval is conditioned on OCCIWA and emergency services, fire, police, and ambulance, and approval of any applications or conditions subject to this application. All signs within this approval shall be subject to approval by the Oxford Planning and Zoning Commission in accordance with the standards and guidelines as interpreted by the commission. Included in this approval, there is no alcohol shall be sold on the premises without additional approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The applicant shall follow the Town of Oxford's approval permit procedure, which includes reviews and sign-offs from the OCCIWA, ZEO, WPCA, Fire Marshal, and any other applicable town departments before work begins. Conditions for Z-20035A included the following: compliance with all Town of Oxford regulations and ordinances in effect as of this date. Patio doors are only to be opened from the interior, which will be locked on the outside and will only be used for emergency exit only. No exterior or interior signage will be allowed on the fencing surrounding the patio. The applicant will be required to pay all costs of special consultants or studies as deemed necessary by the commission at any time during the period from initial review through inspection and final acceptance of any improvements. The applicant and their assigns must comply with all representations made at Planning and Zoning Commission meetings or at public hearings regarding this application. Compliance with the statement of use submitted with this application. It is the responsibility owner applicant to ensure capability of communication with the fire department and EMS. If the requirement is not fulfilled, it is the responsibility owner applicant to rectify the problem. Whereas the Oxford Planning and Zoning Commission has considered the application for change of use Z-21-06-064. The application for change of use conforms of all requirements of the Oxford zoning regulations, and therefore it is approved. But it is approved motion by, I don't know what to put here. It's approved.
We'll fill that in when it's done. So move.
Okay, it is
subject
approved and subject to the following terms and conditions. Number one, all conditions stated in this statement of use in this application are incorporated as amendments to the two prior statements of use approved in Z-19-321 and Z-20-035A. Specifically, A, Z-19-3-21 is amended to the extent that sales of alcohol is permitted in the premises and no alcohol is allowed to be transported, carried, or brought into the establishment by patrons or guests. Only alcohol purchased in the bar area from the permittee or his or her agents and employees may be consumed in the premises. B, Z-20-035A is amended to remove the patio from the site plan for the establishment, and the amended site plan filed with this change of use permit is accepted. Condition number 2 and number 3, insofar as they rely on the use of an existing patio, are removed. An outdoor patio is not allowed for this establishment. Number 2, signage shall comply with 16.6.3. Number 3, all prior conditions in Z-19-321 not amended by this change of use application, Z-21-06-064. Number 4, all prior conditions in Z-20-035A not amended by this change of use application, Z-21-06-064. Number 5, the applicant will be required to pay all costs of special consultants or studies as deemed necessary by the commission at any time during the period from initial review through inspection and final acceptance of any improvements. Number 6, the applicant and the signs must comply with all representations made at Planning and Zoning Commission meetings or at public hearings regarding this application. Number 7, in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 8-3C, the applicant will cause this special application along with special exceptions Z-19-321 and Z-20-035A as amended by this change of use application to be filed on the land use records of the town of Oxford.
Thank you, Brett.
Now I can breathe.
Yeah, now you can breathe.
I'll second the motion, Dave.
Okay, we have a second. Brett made the motion. Dan seconded it. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Brett, I think you need one of those cough lozenges that Pete always has at the meeting. We need to get back in person. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay. All right. Moving on in the agenda, we have new business, schedule a public hearing, none. G, new business. We have Z21-080, 3 Fox Hollow Road, Lot 2. The owner is CED Properties LLC, 3 Fox Hollow Road. The applicant is Wayne Mignano, and if I mispronounce that, I apologize. CEO CED Services, 3 Fox Hollow Road. This is a site plan for a 20,300 square foot addition, which everybody should have in their packet. And Wayne, are you in the audience?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Thank you for hanging in there. Appreciate it. If you could state your name and address for the record and kind of give us like a snapshot in terms of what we're doing here.
My name is Wayne Mignano. We're a manufacturing company at 3 Fox Hollow Road. We are looking to put a 22,000 square foot addition on our building. We've been there about 7 years.
Okay. And what exactly do you do? I know it's in here, but just to kind of hear it so the commission can hear it exactly what.
We're an aircraft and medical manufacturer in the medical field for bone cutting and breast cancer. We employ about 50 employees at this current time. We're 33,000 square feet, and we're growing.
That's always good to hear.
Yes.
Always good. Okay. Well, everybody, I mean, we have the plans and we have the map, and this is our opportunity to ask the applicant if there's any specific questions that you have regarding it. So I will open it up to the commission for any thoughts or questions that they have.
Everything is pretty clear here to me. I mean, the drawings look good. The statement of use is complete. I don't see any issues.
It looks like a pretty clean application to me. We should pass this one right away.
Well, I think with the site plan, we probably need to have refer it over to Nafis and Young to take a look at. So I think that's one thing we have to consider. One other thing that when I was looking at this and looking at this offline, I was looking at the size of the building, and I'm wondering, if this fits into our regs, does it require any sort of special approvals or anything along those lines?
My name is Richard Grenolch. I'm a professional engineer, and the answer is no, it does not require any special approvals from a building point of view.
Okay, Dave, I took a look at the regs too. A
Thanks,
building
everyone.
in excess of 50,000, but I mean, technically, this is not a building in excess. It'll be a total building when it's done, but all they're proposing is a 20,000 foot addition. So
So even though that brings us over the over that gross floor area, it's something that we don't have to worry about from a special notice.
No,
I mean, you're
because-
talking about 300 feet out of 50,000.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about 300 feet.
Have
The
to
other
ask the
building is
question.
gonna be
So-
well, it says here 9.3. This is an industrial zone.
Mhm.
All right, says subject to securing of a special exception is provided in Article 10, which requires the public hearing. The following are permitted. All uses with a gross floor area of 50,000 square feet. So,
We're at the cusp.
But is that, and I'm just curious, I don't have the regulations in front of me. Is that from an initial request? Like, does it matter that this is an addition to?
it's any use. So that would be the use of the building with a gross floor area of 50,000 square feet. So I think the term gross indicates that it's total, the aggregate. Just looking if there's any.
What section in the zoning?
That's
said was, John?
section Article 9, 9.3.1.
Okay.
I don't know. I would think that considering that the use is already in existence on 30,000 square feet, that we're only looking at, the use for 20,000 more, or 22,000, or whatever the number is.
And I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted to note it, that if everybody on the commission is comfortable with that, and that makes sense in terms of that assessment, I'm good. It was something that caught my eye, so. By all means, it's, yeah, it was, you're right. It's already approved for 30. They're just an addition on the 20 on top. It's not something brand new that's being created in mass. With the 50, that's fine as well too. And I'm fine with just, taking it from there and sending it over to Navis and Young to take a look at the site plan to make sure we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to, I mean, I understand the letter of the law being a total of 50,000 gross, but as Pat already stated, I'm sort of in agreement as well. 30,000 is already approved. This is really only 20,000 more. So I don't have an issue with it. Plus, we're only talking about 300 feet.
Right, exactly. All right, so hearing that, and if does anybody else in the commission have any thoughts before I ask for a motion to move it to Naphis? Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up?
Just one more thing, Dave.
Sure,
Is there
Pete, go for it. You're
outside-
recognized.
Is there any outside storage on here? I noticed in the back here, you got like a fence up where your overhead doors, I guess it's on floor plan A2.
No, there's no outside storage. It's just garbage.
Oh, okay. That's an enclosed trash bin there?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Did that answer your questions, Pete?
Yes, it does, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if nobody else has anything that they want to ask at this time, then I would entertain a motion to refer this over to Naphis and Young to take a look at this and come back with any comments and go from there.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Motion from Brett, second by Pat. All those in favor of referring the site plan to Naphis and Young for review, please respond by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Jess, thank you. All right, next up, we have for new business Z21-018. This is 349 Christian Street. The owner and applicant is Michael Tarby, 82 Bagley Road, Southbury, Connecticut. This is a site plan for a 4,600 square foot addition to an existing. Mr. Tarby, are you here? I don't see him in attendance. All right, so from the commission's perspective, I mean, we have the application here. It looks like an addition. The one thing that kind of caught my eye on this is that, and again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall this coming in front of us previously. And I see that it was already, it had gone to Naphis and Young. I think it was referred there possibly by, from the office. Jess, would that be Steve probably that sent it over?
I don't know.
I don't recall sending this over to
No, I
Jim.
didn't. No, I remember you had said you didn't recall. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just for the record, though, the addition is actually only 2,800 square feet, not 40,000.
4,600.
28.3. I'm looking at the statement of use. It's listed as
Oh.
28.3.
I was looking at the map. It said proposed addition. Actually, the map says 5,200 square feet.
And then the letter
Jim's
says
letter.
4,600 square feet. So there-
Um,
so if you looked at page 27 of your attachment that
On the-
Jessica sent,
On the map, it shows only 5,238 square feet.
this is all over the place.
Yeah,
And I'm not comfortable without ever there being the applicant in front of us, quite honestly, to ask questions to.
In that case, motion to table to our next regular meeting.
Second.
Before we, I just, yeah. you
Point
know
of
what?
order.
I mean, we can
Point of
talk
order,
about
Dave.
wanting- I was gonna talk
There's
about
a
wanting to have-
motion and a second on the floor. We have to approve.
Yeah, no,
we
you're
have
right.
to Vote on it.
All those in favor of tabling to the next meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Hearing none. All right, we'll address it at the 5-4 meeting. Jess, is it possible to reach out to the applicant to invite them to the next meeting so that they're here?
absolutely. I'm
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do we typically do that? I mean, because I would think that we should always have the applicants in front of us. Just a question.
For something complicated like this, yeah, I think,
well, something as inconsistent as this.
yeah. I mean, this isn't like, somebody putting a boutique in down at the quarry.
Right.
Right.
I'm a little surprised that the applicant wasn't here.
Yeah, it might
So,
have had something, maybe there was a miscommunication between when Steve was out, that's might be how it fell through the
Could
cracks.
have been.
So. The Micon sounds familiar. Does that ring a bell? Micon Products?
They've been in town for a long time.
Maybe that's where I'm familiar with it. I thought I was,
That's the powder coating guys.
oh, okay.
All right, moving on with the agenda. Steve is not here, so we don't have anything for zoning enforcement. Minutes, the minutes aren't wrapped up quite yet. Jess is almost done with them for the last meeting, so we'll get them on our next go around. No invoices to review for this go around. Other business. And it's good to see Mr. McSherry back in action. Somewhat.
Somewhat, yeah, I'm getting there a little bit closer.
Very good. Well, I know you've been kind of tied up with everything in terms of everything going on with you. I don't know if you have any updates, and if you don't, that's fine. But yeah, we had a couple of outstanding items with Moose Hill and Riverview.
Still waiting on Moose Hill for the selectmen to do what they want to do. And then the other item, I did call the engineer, and they're still discussing what they want to do. They, as you recall, they do have to apply for a variance because where they're designing things, they don't own it. So they're still trying to figure that out. I think they're waiting to spend their money.
Very good. Thank you. I have one item for other business, but before I go into what I wanted to bring up, is there anybody else that has anything for other business that they would like to bring up with the commission? And
Sure.
Pat's raising his hand. You're recognized, Pat.
Our governor announced that next month he's opening the state back up to pretty much normal activities. Can we investigate how soon that we can start having normal in-person meetings again?
I actually asked that question today, so, and they have to work out some of the details. I'm hoping it's gonna be sooner rather than later, but one of the things the conditions are thinking about is that we still have to provide a virtual option for people that don't feel comfortable coming in for the meeting. So I think we have to make sure those logistics are set and we can support that in town hall.
I'm sure we can get enough technical support to figure out how to do that.
I would love to get everybody back in person, absolutely. But no, it was a great first step, seeing that everything was gonna be lifted for, what day was it, May 19th? Everything was gonna be,
Pretty much, yes.
yeah, so it'd be nice if we were back in sometime in June. That would be really, I think that'd be fantastic. And Jess is raising her hand.
You know, we don't have to meet at town hall. We can meet anywhere we want as long as we put it on the agenda. We
Brookside,
can meet, we can meet, at, you know, in the lawn with lawn chairs if we wanted
Okay.
to, as long as we put where we're meeting on the agenda.
I'm open to creative ideas.
I vote
And
for
honestly,
Brookside.
there's no requirement that you have to provide electronic access to a meeting. As long as you post where the meeting's going to be at and it's open to the public, that's all that's required.
You're
Just-
right.
just-
You're right, based up, and I don't know what special rules they might try and kick in with everything going on because everything seems to have a caveat. So I think that's the reason why the answer I got back today was they're gonna need to understand logistics before they give the green light. But in terms of where to go and if there's whatever we can do to make it as smooth and as easy as possible. I understand Brett has a great backyard. So we'll be
Hey, listen, if we want to meet here, fine. I
There
just
you
don't
go.
want us to be creating regulations and rules for us to follow when they're not necessarily real.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
No,
Right,
exactly,
right.
exactly. So it's, you know, it was a preliminary question. I think there's good things that are coming down. It's nice to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to figure out what goes with it. And hopefully again, we want to make it as easy as possible. And speaking of making it as easy as possible, the one thing I wanted to throw out to you folks came out of you know, a meeting last week, just looking at policies, you know, within planning and zoning and some of the things that are out there. And, you know, Jess brought up some great ideas and Pat and John had brought up some ideas. I'm throwing it out there also to you folks to let us know what we're thinking here. Technically in our policies, when we have the agenda is set a week before the actual meeting. And in other words, the Tuesday before a Tuesday meeting. And with Jess's schedule and the amount of time and amount of detail that goes into some of these things with the packets and all, I want us to go back to that approach and, you know, giving us enough lead time with things for the agenda to be able to review and make sure the agenda is complete, give Jess time to be able to pull the information and the packets together, make sure the applications are complete. So you have these, you know, with a few days in advance to be able to read them and be able to, so that way we're in a much more comfortable position being able to deliberate as opposed to, you know, scrambling, you know, the day of or the day before with, you know, filing an agenda and getting everything out to everybody. And we're going to start working towards that in terms of, you know, having a hard cutoff on the Tuesday before that. First, you want something on the agenda, somebody wants something on the agenda. We need to kind of get it in-house so we can review it, discuss it. That's also going to favor us too when we get back in person, because besides virtually nice being able to see it, one of the things I always felt a little uncomfortable with was showing up at a P&Z meeting and having the packet there. I like being able to kind of read through and being able to review everything, you know, in advance and think about it. So if we're in the habit of getting it done, you know, the week before, there's no reason why we can't have that packet still emailed to you out going into the weekend. So that way we're ready on Tuesday for when actual meeting day happens. So just trying to look for ways to be, you know, more efficient, make things flow a little bit better, making sure things are more complete. And Jess is going to be taking a much more active stance. And, you know, not that she hasn't already, but, you know, basically, you know, I empowered her to make sure that things are set with applications that come in front. We want Jess to be able to say that, you know what, this is not complete, and, you know, and be able to show it, say, I'm not going to put this on the agenda, and I want to be able to say, that's fine. I want to have much more active role with it as well, too. So that's, you know, some of the things that we're talking about to kind of, you know, get through it. And honestly, folks, the last year has been miserable. And I think we all can agree. I mean, everything, it seems like we're always flying by the seat of our pants, and it's tough. And everybody's in that position, and we all get crazy. We all get, you know, short fuses and everything else. And, you know, it's something where I'm really looking forward to getting back in person and having things work a little bit more smoothly. And if there's things that, you know, we can do to help make that, you know, work even better, then we want to do it. So feedback always welcome, but just wanted to let you know about some of the conversations that we were having behind that in regards to the agenda itself.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah, Pete.
I have to agree with you 100%. This last minute stuff thrown at us and making us read it and then voting it, just like tonight with Zach's throwing. I don't go for that. I needed a couple of days ahead of time to read and concentrate. We have a responsibility to this town to do our jobs in the right amount of time. And Jesse used to do that before until she, she got a lot on her plate getting this
Yes, she
stuff
does.
out at the last minute. And, it's not fair to her to bomb her with applications coming in at the last minute. Do me a favor, let me get it in. No, there's no more favors. This is planning and zoning town of Oxford. That's what we work for. We have to control the way these applications come in. So we have the opportunity to read through them and read through them the right way, not push them through. That's like I said, like the axe one. I didn't vote on the axe one, by the way, for or against it.
didn't?
So no, I did not, because I didn't have time to review it. And I'm going to vote that way every time I get an application that I don't have time to review.
And, Pete, that's fine with that. And last week, and part of this came up with the minutes from last time. And I know Jess was pushing to get the minutes included last week or 2 weeks ago. And they were sent out a couple hours before the meeting. I recused myself because I just did not have a chance to read them. It just wasn't time. And I hear you loud and clear, regarding that. And again, this goes back to why, Jess, for those of you who don't know, by the way, Jess's schedule is Monday to Thursday. So to try and file an application on her first day back based upon things she never saw that might have come in on Friday, and be able to kind of get that, pull the information together on Monday to get everything to the commission, it's too much. It's too much. I'd much rather have her send something to me, Wednesday morning of what's on the agenda coming up, so I can have a chance to review it by Wednesday night, get back to her on Thursday, and she has something now that she can file before she leaves, pulls the packets together, gets it out to you. And now you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to look at it. And Monday, we're just, pulling up loose ends just to make sure everything's all wrapped up the way that it should. And I think that's where we should be in terms of, being able to run this. So again, and I'm Jess is waving her hand. I got to keep looking at her in the corner. So go ahead, Jess.
Pat has his hand up first.
Oh, Pat, okay.
Hey, I'm a strong advocate of a hard cutoff on the Tuesday prior to the meeting. So 1 week before the meeting.
Mhm.
Because then this gives Wednesday and Thursday for Jess to have to work on the thing before she sends it out to us.
Right.
And I think that we just have to find a way to, whether we have to post a notice in the I don't know, and let all the applicants know. Maybe when they come in to fill out their applications, this is on the document. That, if it's not in by this, by noon on Tuesday prior to the meeting, it goes on the following agenda.
Noon on
And may I
Tuesday.
say, as an attorney who represents applicants in other towns, you have 2 meetings a month. It's such a gift for an applicant. If I miss that cutoff date, even by a minute or whatever it is, I'm going to have another shot the same month. So it's a gift. You guys meet twice a month. It really is.
It might be something, just looking at the application, it might be something where we could just include that language you're talking about on it, Pat.
Yeah,
Right there.
that's what I was saying.
Yep.
Yep.
Or on that signature page, one or the other. Brett, hold on 1 second. Jess, Pat was first, Jess was next. Jess, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that no matter how it's never going to be perfect. I don't want to give you that expectation that it's always going to run smoothly, because I can cut it off on Tuesday and have everything ready. But if something happens, if I have a busy day, things come up. So the town clerk, I'm not there on Friday. The town clerk works on Friday. She doesn't work on Monday. So to me, if we're going to do that, like if I hadn't talked to you, David, and the agenda got filed the way that it did, that would have been okay. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
We could have taken that as it comes. And sometimes we might have to do that. It's not going to be perfect. Please don't ever think that.
No.
I'll try to make things, but it may not always be perfect, because sometimes I do have to make a last minute decision if, the town clerk needs, get it in now because I'm going on vacation or something and I have to upload it. Stuff comes up. That's all I'm saying. So
There's always gonna be stuff that comes up, Jess, so don't stress about that. Well, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. You know, if you can capture 80% of the stuff that causes things that drive you crazy, and, you know, we can deal with the other 20%. So let's, you know, kind of get with the big stuff there.
Yeah.
Brett, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're up.
That's okay. Just a couple things. One, I'll be working on a lot of the forms to digitize them, make them cleaner. We could add language, and you know, at one of the future upcoming meetings, I'll create drafts and present them to the commission for their approval. And once you know the commission approves them, we'll replace our hard copy ones with our digital versions, which will make everything a little bit cleaner and a little bit easier to use. That's just from a form perspective. Also, I'd like to see us revisit, it's a year plus now, I think, or more, the new zoning regulations that we had been provided to us last year. Because if we've got, you know, revisions, we should start to consider those, especially if they clean things up. And then third, I had a great meeting with Jess and Steve in town hall last week. I spent probably a good part of a morning in there. And first of all, I want to say how impressed I am. You know, take away the differences in how we approach things. I'm part-time. Steve and Jessica are full-time. I mean, between the two of them, they've got 50 plus years of experience in zoning. I do this, I come twice a month, and you know, I don't profess to be a planning and zoning expert. I'm not even close to it. So I think what's important to me is hearing from Jess and Steve on some of these issues, because collectively between them, they may have some good guidance for us, especially me. So I'd like to hear their opinions more often on some of these issues, just to get their opinion, because collectively with their experience, I think they've run across a lot of these, and I'd like to see us streamline things to make things run a lot smoother and not as complicated for our applicants. But I want to say how impressed I was with Steve and Jessica when I went and spoke with them about a number of different topics, because I honestly didn't realize how much experience they had between the two of them and what they've been doing. So thank you, Jess.
We sounded smart, didn't we? I don't sound smart much, but we sounded pretty smart. I felt good that day. I said, darn, we do know
Yeah.
some stuff.
But it's amazing if you just go in and spend time with anybody at town hall and sit down with them for
Yeah.
a couple hours to understand what it is they do and how they do it. And that's what, you know, I've done with all the employees who work for me within my departments, you know, just to understand what they do and what they bring to the table. And that translates into here as well, because I really didn't understand what Jess and Steve brought to the table. And I think we're lucky to have them.
Thank you, Brett.
No, that's great. Thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing with the forms and getting those cleaned up. I know that that's a yeoman's task, and you know, I appreciate that, because that's only going to benefit. And duly noted on the revisions. I think again, it's difficult and in terms of the environment that we're in. And you're right that that is on the short list in terms of when we get back together. I do want to kind of open that back up again, but duly noted regarding that. And yeah, I mean, depending upon their capacity and the type of day they're having, everybody is welcome to go in and see exactly what Jess and Steve are doing and everything, and get a better feel for it. I think that just helps us all in the long run. So you're more than welcome, you know, schedule and talk to them. Don't surprise them. So, you know, you'll be able to say, hey, listen, you know, I want to come in and, you know, just, you know, observe or things like that. And, yeah, I think that's good. And yeah, just to kind of keep on the same page with stuff. And we'll be looking at other policies and procedures as well. Anybody else have anything they want to throw out there?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Pat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Pete. All those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody voted there. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. And have a great night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Thanks again, Jess. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you soon.
You got a deal.